You are required to ensure the security of this country against any aggressor. What does that mean for you? It means that you should have to fight, and fight to win.
कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा, खुशी के गीत गाए जा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की, तू कौम पे लुटाए जा। कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा, खुशी के गीत गाए जा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की, तू कौम पे लुटाए जा।
"20-year-old Eflin loads rounds into her heavy machine gun. She's part of an all-female Kurdish unit on the front lines in the war on ISIS here in northeastern Syria. We met her and her comrades at a forward position south of Hasaki. When I ask Eflin if ISIS ever gets near their position, she responds with a laugh. If they do, she says, we won't leave one of them alive. At the hands of what in the past was called the gentler sex, ISIS may have met its match. They think they're fighting in the name of Islam, says 21-year-old Tel Helden, and they believe if someone from Daesh is killed by a girl, a Kurdish girl, they won't go to heaven. So they're afraid of girls. She uses the word girl, but these are tough women. Her name, by the way, means revenge.
North of Iraq, on the front line, with the female soldiers. In their sights, the jihadist fighters from the so-called Islamic State. This troop of women Kurdish soldiers have been involved in attacks and, when needed, have defended Kirkuk. It is the oil-rich city in the northern region of Iraq where ISIL has been defeated. The city has been retaken after battles with Kurdish Peshmerga forces. Euronews correspondent Mohammed Sheikh Ibrahim spent time at one of the barracks with a troop of Kurdish female soldiers. They belong to the Kurdish Freedom Party. It is one of several Kurdish Iranian groups which has taken up arms against the jihadist fighters. Thousands of women soldiers have come from Iran to join the Kurdish forces in their conflict against ISIL. It's the duty of any human being to fight this enemy, ISIL, a terrorist organization. I am here side by side with my brothers and sisters. We are all under the Peshmerga flag and we decided to fight. I want to participate strongly in defending my land, my nation and my home. The ages of the women in this particular military unit, which Euronews visited, ranged between 18 and 28 years old, while in general for all other units among the Kurdish forces, the ages are between 18 and 40 years. All these female fighters are volunteers, they receive no pay, and they explained that serving their country should be enough. I made the choice by myself to come here. A woman stays a woman and a man stays a man. There is no big change in our daily life, except here we are all the same, at the front line. I feel so proud to fight here while other men stay at home and do nothing. Do not fight against the terrorist group. It is clear they're ready to die for the cause. All have been given clear instructions not to be captured by ISIL. They face being cruelly raped by the jihadists, who believe their religion gives them the right to do this to women soldiers, calling them prisoners of war. Their hands are on the trigger. These women soldiers have taken the responsibility on their shoulders to fight ISIL, in spite of the dangers and the ferocity of the battle. Revenge for other women who have been killed and raped by ISIL give these women the determination to fight until the enemy is completely defeated and they have complete freedom.
Kilometers away. Around a third of the Syrian Kurdish fighting force is made up of women. Many of them are still teenagers. They fight alongside the men, facing the same enemy and the same dangers. Diren is just 19 years old.
When they see a woman with a gun, they're so afraid they begin to shake. They portray themselves as tough guys to the world. They see women as just little things, but one of our women is worth 100 of them.
On the front line between Kurdish fighters and Islamic State militants, a group of young women have mobilized. They've left their homes and dreams behind to fight on the front line. The women say they felt compelled to join the battles with men in order to protect their land. They call themselves the Women Defenders. 17-year-old Dilbreen says she signed up to help liberate the country. I joined the YPJ voluntarily. I joined them to help defend the Kurds, the Arabs, the Christians, and all nationals. I'll defend my country and all those who are fighting for it. The male fighter fights physically, while the woman fights with her mind and with planning. The woman knows when to use weapons, and naturally she's a hater of war violence. However, we're forced to defend ourselves. We're raised on such thoughts. The women feel no different from the men fighters. However, they believe that while men rely more on their physical strength, they use cunning, stealth, and patience to get results. At home, every girl takes care of herself more than on the front line. When I go to the front line, I feel I'm not the same. I feel I've grown up, and I know and I understand things better.
When women are empowered, all of society benefits. United Nations Deputy Secretary General Asha Rose Migiro told this to an International Women Leaders Global Security Summit in New York. For many women in Israel, service in the Israel Defense Forces is the source for their empowerment. At age 18, Israeli high school graduates are handed incredible responsibility to defend their country and defend their families. 1/3 of these soldiers are women, many of whom share a strong sense of obligation to serve their nation. The Israeli Defense Forces represent the heart, soul, and body of the Israeli people, integrating and absorbing differences to culminate in a unified Israeli front. Unlike any other nation in the world, the IDF is unique in its dedication to the integration of women in its protection of Israel. This has been true since Israel's establishment in 1948 and is reflective of the egalitarian-based society of Israel as a whole. Lieutenant Gali Rosenstein, an IDF spokesperson, has already served more than her required 2 years and has commanded both male and female soldiers.
Women today can go and become combat soldiers, can become pilots, can go to the Navy, they can do everything, and they're treated equally.
Today, over 90% of all roles in the Army are open to women candidates, and women perform duties that help ensure the safety of Israel. For instance, one of the most crucial responsibilities women fulfill in the Navy is that of control supervisors, in charge of the safety of Israel's coast and responsible for stopping many terrorist attacks. As Women's Affairs Advisor Brigade General Gila Khalifi Amir put it, they are the eyes of the Navy. Colonel Bentzi Gruber, who has served in the Army for over 30 years as a commander and sergeant general, explains how this makes the IDF different from other armies in the world.
I think that the IDF is one of the unique armies that women can join a lot of units, a lot of interesting units, combat units.
According to the IDF spokesperson unit, during the Second Lebanon War in 2006, women were involved in field operations alongside men for the first time since the 1948 War of Independence.
Women can be very empowered in the Army. I think that just saying that women are just like men and they need to do service and we have the same rights and we have the same duties as anyone else. And I think that's very empowering, and I don't know, I think that it makes Israeli women stronger.
At the age of 18, women in the IDF hold enormous responsibility. Women, who compose half of all officers in compulsory service and more than 25% of officers with rank of captain or major, are often in charge of numerous other soldiers. Their responsibility is not only to ensure the defense of Israel, but also the safety and well-being of the soldiers under the command.
Of course, there is still things or jobs that women cannot do, like getting to Gaza and fighting face to face, which is now like. Still, we didn't get to that point, but I'm not sure that we want to get to that point because we don't really want to think what women will have to do if they will be inside the enemy. But generally, it's equal.
I think it forces the Army and society also to look at each gender and say, okay, what can you contribute, and how can we do that in the best way? And really look at each job and say, okay, should women be here? Should women not be here?
So do you think more positions should be opened up to women, or is it good the way it is?
I think it's good enough the way it is, but if there is any woman that wants to do any job, no one needs to stop her. I mean, it's open enough right now, but there is still jobs that we don't do. But I can realize that, so it's fine.
Till today, the IDF remains an army of the people. The important contributions women make do not remain isolated to the Army. Since 2000, the IDF has collaborated with the Israel Women's Network on a program for 11th graders that aims to change attitudes towards and perceptions of women by increasing the awareness of women's abilities and potential contribution to the technological, political, financial, and military worlds. Service in the IDF empowers not only the women serving, but also girls and women in the greater society.
I think it's a big part of the Israeli culture, and it's an important part of the Israeli culture. And I mean, we need people in the army. I don't understand how we can live in Israel and know what people go through and not go to the army.
And the army doesn't care, like, if you haven't done laundry in 2 weeks and you really, really want to go home now because it's a war and you're like just 20 and whatever, like, no. We need you right now, and your country needs you right now, and so you will be in this bomb shelter with 50 small children, making them not cry. First of all, I think it makes you a more mature human being to put something else in front of you, like to work for something that's bigger than you. I think it puts things in proportion, and it makes you more selfless.
India has about 1,170 million people. Women in India comprise 48.5% of the population, at a ratio of 940 per 1,000 males. That increased by 0.75% in the census 2011. There are 77 million literates in India, 33 are females and 44 million are males. Literacy rate among females is 65.5% as compared to males with 82.1%. Employment. Of the total 402 million workers, 275 million are males and 127 million are females. India's urban female workforce participation rate is one of the world's lowest at 15%. One-third of agricultural workers are women. Their wages are 30% lower than men's wages. The average gender pay gap is approximately 54% for years 2006 to 2011. This, however, might be changing. The total number of women in the workforce increased from 9 million in 1991 to 28 million in 2011. As the former President of India, late Dr. Abdul Kalam, once said, "When women are empowered, society with stability gets assured."